Hi my friends, this is Wolfgang again from Wolfgang's Healing Circle, and today we will be talking on how to use crowns, and some of that stuff is quite advanced, but these are special times, and I think this information has to come out. And if you're thinking of abusing this information, well, good luck to you. Otherwise, well, some of that stuff may sound quite far out, but we all have kind of a truth meter in ourselves, and I advise you to just, uh, use your own BS meter. See if it sounds or rings true for you or not, and then try it out for yourself. I'm not your daddy, and you don't have to believe anything I say, but if it makes sense, it makes sense. So here we go. So you want to know about crowns, and nowadays there are a wide variety of people that use crowns, anything from priests and priestesses to magicians, witches, exotic dancers, strippers, actors, and Renaissance fair people. And belly dancers, and there are probably many more. And here are some very few physical and historical tidbits I can share with you, and then there are the bulk of the information is basically more of a metaphysical, of a finer nature, dealing with finer energies. So, first of all, crowns have been used in certain form, just like birds develop certain feathers, try to make themselves appear big and special, due to sexual selection, let's say. The paradise birds come to mind. Actually, in most culture, big head or some big hair thing, or some big head thing, like the warrior helmets, throughout the ages, throughout the cultures, have been bigger than maybe practical was useful. Whether it's the more modern military cap, Greek horse-tail appendages, to the samurai helmets. Males try to look more impressive. That is why policemen, wear their mustache and have a uniform that enhances their shoulders with the lapeliers. So if you just want to look impressive with your crown, and you think chi and finer energies is just a bunch of hocus pocus, my advice is to you, use the Alexander technique when you wear a crown. The Alexander technique, very simply, is a technique developed by an Australian actor, and he figured out how to be the hero. Which pose is that of the hero, of the king, of the queen. And his findings are very much the same as the findings of the yogis, and that is very simply, you imagine that you're having a thread kind of attached where above the head, on top of the head, where basically the spine goes into the skull, and you imagine that you're being pulled up here, and let it swing, let it float up. You imagine your head floating up, and that means your spine is erect. And from a yogic point of view, the strongest energy flow in your body, which is up your spinal column, it's called the Shushumna. There will be a natural unobstructed upflow of energy, which would be disturbed, let's say, or not as strong if you would be slouching, being kinked to the side and whatever. So you imagine again, you're floating up, everything is nice and straight. And in this way also, when the head is cocked like this or like that, there is not so much energy transfer into the brain from these pranic flows of energy that are flowing up your spinal column. And so that is the ideal pose. And then for your shoulders, you don't bring them back. You're imagining they're floating out to the side. And that's how you are the hero. That's how you're worthy of wearing a crown. And you can try by yourself, swing a little bit forward and backwards or sideways till you find the highest amount of energy flow, or till you feel the best. So much about the posture when wearing a crown. Now let's talk more about the subtle aspects of a crown. Well, actually, crowns are not just for a status symbol, for bling bling, shiny things, precious things. There is a lot more to that. When we look at the spiritual cultures around the world, we will always find kind of headdresses or devices that enhance the energy centers that are on top of your head. In the Christian tradition, or in many other traditions, in the divine iconography, you find the saints and holy people, surrounded with a halo, around the head, and which is a natural occurrence when you are in higher consciousness, in high vibration. Then these realities become visible to the naked eye. In some Christian iconography, I've also seen scenes depicting the apostles when they receive the Holy Spirit, and they have little flames above their head, which is more a description of the crown chakra being opened. This here is a whole complex, a combination of your throat energy center, of your third eye energy center, and of this. And it's a good sign to have that, no question about it. But then, it keeps going, and, your deepest connection with the higher realms, with the angelic realms, with the realms where we are beyond time and space, where we see the big picture, is above the head, when we're focused above the head, and there for all those little flames that are symbolizing that. I think for a crown chakra, those little flames are a little bit puny. I like to see like a blazing thing flowing up there, but they probably didn't know better at that time, at least those artists. So when we go to South America, those shamans and Indios, I've seen, they have little feathered crowns that actually enhance this. And of course, we all know about the fancy headgear of the northern Native American chiefs that have been promoted so much in the movies. Feathers are wonderful energy transfer devices, and so they also enhance these energy centers above the head. And then, of course, we have the tonsure, the cutting out of hair on top of the head from the Christian monks. And then, of course, there is the yarmulke, like what the Pope wears, or in the Jewish tradition, which puts pressure on exactly the same spot. And there is the sika of the Hindus, and of course the Kazakhs, to stimulate through just tactile sense perception, the crown chakra. And we have the fish-shaped Pope head, and everybody knows those cone-shaped heads that the Western magicians and the Western witches are depicted in. And of course you will find also cone-shaped headdresses in other cultures. These are all devices, to enhance the energies above your head. Now, why enhance the energies above your head? Well, from a yogic point of view, the more we have energy in the upper part of the body, the more our consciousness gets shifted, our awareness gets shifted in its perspective to a non-dualistic point of view. It is easier to contact or perceive angels. It is easier to get telepathic impression or send telepathic thoughts. Our thinking is non-dualistic. We are closer to spirit. We see the big picture. It is much easier to see the divine plan instead of just our own personal selfish desires when our crown chakra is open. And we become vessels of the divine, tools of the divine, tools of God's love and of God's healing, etc. And those headgears, and this includes crowns, are actually designed to enhance that. And traditionally, of course, the priest, priestess, or the king would wear a crown. And so these are the people that make the important decisions, that that need the most accurate information, that are in dire need of divine guidance, because their insights and decisions affect the lives of millions of people in some cases. And so everything was done to enhance the consciousness of such an important person. So here we have a crown that Ishani made, and let me just explain, its simple construction. First of all, at the end, it can be adjusted so it fits any head size, and we have pearls around it. Now, pearls connect very much with the water energy, and they have a soothing effect on the emotions, and we become emotionally more attuned, and because our emotions are soothed. Then you will see the chakra stones, like here is pink, turquoise, maybe chrysocolla, violet, amethyst. There is a big amethyst. Pyramid here. Pyramids basically just focus a ray of light outside, but they also have like a spray paint energy, but the bulk of the energy, goes, out through the center. And we have some red, and we have some yellow, some tiger eye here. And basically, and there's some moonstone up here to enhance sensibility. And of course there are dolphins and the moon and other symbology on this crown. Now, why are those stones there? All the stones lend different energies. They are basically transmitters of different energies, and so when the higher divine realms feel it is necessary to give us certain energies, it makes it more easy, to vibrate through those stones. Also, these stones are like transistors that amplify our own energies, our own thought forms, and they also store energy. So whenever you think, whatever thought forms you form while wearing a crown is very potent. First of all, because, when you wear a crown and your crown chakra is open, and then you're in higher vibration and higher consciousness, and whatever intent you're using in a higher state of consciousness is much, much, much more potent than any intent you're using in a lower state of consciousness. And that is for good reasons. So then, of course, those thoughts get amplified by the crown, by the metals. all these substances are actually storage devices that can hold energy and amplify energy. I give you an example. I'm wearing these multi-metal arm bracelets, and when I take them off, my hand kind of feels naked in a way, because when I have this thing on, there seems to be energy like radiating like big baseball gloves for my hand, and when I take it off, it's not there anymore. I would have to put an extra effort into my hand to cheer up my hand. And so the metals together with the human energy field have a symbiotic relationship. And so the same, we see metals here. The metals generally used in these crowns are bronze, brass, some silver solder, and copper, maybe. And so they have a wonderful synergy and integrate very, very well. Also with the gems, they create a synergy. Before we use any jewelry, and especially crowns, I strongly recommend you to clear this. Many people will think, oh, salt is great. Well, salt will do the trick, but it's very harsh, and I wouldn't want to get salt on these beautiful surfaces. If you want to use something easy mechanical, use a bowl of brown rice. Personally, I recommend using the divine symbol. This is freely available on my website. You can print it out, and you can place this crown onto the divine symbol. I would just lay it here and leave it on there maybe for 5 minutes, and then put another portion on there, leave it for 5 minutes, and just go around. Those of you that are sensitive can probably feel when there seems to be suddenly a feeling of happiness in around you, and that means, this thing has been cleared. At least a portion of it has been cleared. There is a link to this divine symbol in the text accompanying this video, and you're free to visit my website and upload it. It is free of charge, and it is explained how to use this divine symbol for other purposes. Now, this crown already has been cleared, and so the next step to soup this thing up is to put a certain intent into the gems, into the metal. Putting your energy or intent into objects is an old mystical tradition. Many of you are probably familiar in the warrior tradition, where you become one with your weapon, where the weapon becomes a part of your body extension. And you also probably heard of divine weapons, and I'm not talking about astras, the weapons that were used by the ancients, where mantras were incantated. That's a completely different thing. Now I'm talking about divine swords, where thought forms were put into the metal, or afterwards, maybe through ceremony, but especially when you blacksmith iron, these thought forms, get permanently impregnated into the metal, and those divine weapons then become more than just physical objects. They are loaded with thought forms and with pranic energies, and can do things that are beyond the general expectations of humans. So in the same way, we can program our crown and As with every time, where we use power, we should use it wisely, um, because the repercussion can be quite strong. The more power we have, the more damage we can do. And believe me, I'm not a moralist, and I'm not your daddy either, but I have done about 1,000 past life regression over the years with other people, and I have seen a lot of lifetimes. And the thing is, karma is not about retribution. Karma is not about equal punishment, where there is a balance to be achieved. No, karma is for learning. And let's say when you abuse power, you probably will be experiencing the other end, the receiving end of that, till you learn your lesson of not to abuse power. And I have seen people overpaying big time. I mean, overpaying over thousands of years for evil thing they have done. But let's say they killed 30 people, but then they got killed in maybe 200 incarnations, until they got it. So be careful with what do you wish for. And that is why, personally, I find it very helpful before I use any power that I have the following prefix, which is kind of like a disclaimer. I always ask for whatever I do is going to be for the highest good. Means there is nothing better that I could do. I do not want to, settle on the second or third rate, possibility. I want to have the best possibility, even if I do not know what it is. So for the highest good, and that it will be in divine harmony. Very important, divine harmony. Divine harmony means it's not something selfish. It is not something that ultimately, hurts me or others. And we've all heard those fairy tales about jinns, magic beings that grant wishes, and it always somehow backfires. There's always a lesson, there's always something not considered, because we do not know generally what the highest good is. And that's why I ask for the highest good. And then, of course, also divine harmony. So again, it's something we want to be aligned with God's desire and will. Then we go with the stream. And if you're not aligned with divine will, then we're swimming against the stream and cause a lot of karma, entanglement, and disturbances for ourselves and others. Therefore, divine harmony. Let's take this crown, and generally I speak to those metals and gems, and in my mind they have consciousness, not as ours, but they have consciousness, and they like to be spoken to like with an open heart, with simplicity, just like you would speak to a child, or if you are a child yourself. So I asked, all your gems, to please, work together in synergy, and please release any dissonances or discordances or oppositions that prevent you from working together in perfect synergies. So please find all resistances, remove all resistances, and clear all resistances. Amen. For the highest good in divine harmony with the most benevolent outcomes. And I feel an upliftment, as this happens. This thing starts to kind of glow and vibrate in my hands. And I feel a lot better. And now I asked these entities here, these beings here that are in this matter of gems and metals, to please always interface with the human that is going to be wearing those for the highest good and divine harmony with the most benevolent outcomes. So please, hook them up to the divine self, to their higher self, to the angels of light, to the saints, to Mother Earth, to all the beings that are working from a platform of unconditional love. Amen. And this amen basically means, so be it, please seal that in. This is what I want. And it is up to them, to do it. But as long, generally, as you asked for the highest good, you get a lot of cooperation. And now I get also specific. I would like, please could you open, the pineal gland and the pituitary gland of that person that is wearing this, as well balance the brain halves of that person that is wearing this to the optimum level, so that they can become the perfect instrument of spirit. Amen. And just wait. And maybe one more thing, when we wear a crown and people look up to us, our egos sometimes get puffed up, and that generally has not a good result in our life. Nothing good ever comes from that. So I ask that please, keep our ego in check, actually integrated with the divine will, with my divine will, with the Dharma or the mission that I came to perform in this lifetime. And keep me balanced, keep me also grounded to Mother Earth. We do not want to get spaced out while we're wearing this here, being that in La La Land. No, we want to stay grounded. And always let us see ourselves as the servant of the divine, as the instrument of the divine. Amen. And let's have lots of fun and joy and love while we're wearing this crown. Spirituality is not supposed to be a dry, formal, Saturnian thing. Oh no. Oh yes, and please always have my inner child involved when I wear this crown, or the person that wears this crown, that the inner child is playfully, the divine inner child is playfully, can express itself through you. Yeah, amen. I'm getting a little spaced out here while I'm doing this. And now all these substances, they work as a capacitor. This means they're energy storage devices. And let me tell you a story. In India, I once asked a very nice yogi. He was wearing like this very tiny turban always around his head. And this is Bombay. And Bombay is like 95 degrees with 95% humidity. You do not need to wear a turban to keep your head warm, and he was not a Sikh. So I asked him, why are you wearing this little tiny turban? What is the reason? And he said, it protects me. He said, it gets charged up with the vibration that I carry around my head. And when I get into a bad place, these bad energies around there do not affect me that much, because this turban is carrying the good vibration. It is like a buffer. It's like a buffer, just like you wear a heavy coat in the cold. So it's like a buffer against the ever-changing energies around. And so in the same way, we can charge up this crown, and yeah, let's just do this. And what better to charge this up than with love? And because it is something to connect you to the higher chakra, to the heaven energies, I will draw in energy through my higher chakras, energy centers, into the heart, and then from the heart I will send it with a smile into the crown. Now the important thing is the smile. With a smile you can adjust the quality of the love, and with the strength of your breath you can adjust the quantity of your love. And so here we go. And ask the divine angels to come and bless me and bless this crown. Well, this is buzzing now like anything, and now I ask, so please keep this vibration. Do not change this vibration unless you're being asked otherwise, from the owner or from somebody that is authorized. Amen. And I love you. And now, let's just put it on. See, it should be nice in the center. Now here we have amethyst just above the third eye, and we have lapis here, and some other blue stuff over here, and let's just expand my third eye. So I draw energy from the heavens into the center of my head, and then just blow it out up front. And now I also blow it out in back. This is more where your telepathic channels attach. So you want to clear this area of the head out. And now I just work on opening my crown chakra, so I breathe back and forth, all the way up to the ceiling. And smile, and I put my tongue to the top of my palate. You can move your tongue around to find the spot where the most power is transmuted. It's just doing it by itself, just the crown is doing it. But personally, I always like to soup it up. That's my nature, Scorpio rising, we like it intense. I can feel how the crown is actually adjusting the energies in my body, grounding me, opening my heart, boosting my force field. And now this is for those of you that are ready. If you have a crown and you're coming to this point, ask your high self to please come down and superimpose herself or himself over your physical body. I ask now for my high self, my androgynous high self, to descend into my body now. Amen. And of course for the highest good and divine harmony with the most benevolent outcome. Amen. And here, it is here. And I personally know, I mean, yes, I can feel the shift in frequency. Ooh, and I feel taller around the shoulders. I am tingling all over my body. And I'm going to be opening up a little bit more to my high self. And I imagine that I have a zipper like along my spine. I zip this up a little bit more to open me up to the next level of energy that I can handle. If we would incorporate the full power of our high self in our body, probably we would burn out the nervous system, and it would not be good. So just be very, very cautious with this. I hope you have a good time, and so much for the instructions on how to use a crown. I love you, and I hope to see you again. And I have been receiving a lot of, thank you, a lot of Skype requests where people want to talk to me on Skype without having introduced themselves through email beforehand. So everybody that would like to talk with me, please, please, please send me an email and send me your Skype name and maybe a good time, what is maybe the issue, that is pertinent to you, and then I will contact you and make an appointment. Check out my other videos, and I thank you for your support of donations. That is very welcome and supports the work. There is a lot more to share. See you next time. Amen. Namaste.